Welcome back. In this lesson, we're going to talk about how to rotate your objects inside of Blender. So the easiest and fastest way to rotate your objects in Blender is just to hit R on the keyboard and it will rotate. And notice it's kind of rotating in a line with our view. It's kind of just rocking back and forth on the rotation here. Notice we've got this little stretchy black line rotating around the origin point. That is how you can quickly rotate things. But say if you wanted to like rotate in a certain angle, which we're going to do all the time in 3D print design, is like maybe lay something back 45 degrees, we can actually hit X on the keyboard while the R rotation command is still active, and that will let us rotate. And notice I'm kind of like just wheeling my mouse around kind of like a clock. You can go counterclockwise, clockwise, and then over here we have our rotation numbers. You can see on our information tab. So if you're very technical with numbers, then you can see it exactly what you're doing there. And another cool thing is while you have this open, say if we wanted just to lean her head back 45 degrees with the R and X still initiated, you can just type in 45. And so that just changed the rotation angle up here in the top left to 45 degrees along the X line here. So we can also just hit escape and undo that, or you can do R and same thing. We're getting this is just regular R to rotate, and we can hit Y and that will rotate just on the Y axis. So it's just kind of like a line going through her forehead there that the object is just rotating around. So that's really easy and fun to do. But say if we wanted to rotate this one 90 degrees, which we're going to do very often, while you have R and Y pressed, you can just type in the number 90. Just type on your keyboard and then it will just load it in 90 degrees along the Y. But say if you're like, oh wait, I don't want it to lean that way, I want it to lay down the other way. Now you can just hit minus on your keyboard, just the minus sign up there by the backspace. And that will just say, oh, the inversion of that. Kind of nerdy stuff, but I think it's very powerful for us as designers to know that you can do all these commands on a keyboard. Now I'm going to show you the slower way to do a lot of these things, and that is with the rotate tool. So everybody click on your little rotate tool there. And notice this little gizmo, the rotation gizmo, has appeared. It almost looks like a beach ball, but you can essentially grab in this. See, as I like hover over it, it's turning it this little gray outline or just kind of white circle is appearing. If you click in just any of that area, it will rotate it around like a cue ball. It's just kind of strange to get used to. It's kind of fun. So just rotate that around, and that's a quick way to like roll something. It's kind of almost like a rolling rotation. You could think of it. But I'm just going to hit escape. And what this gizmo here, these little colors, you've probably seen these before if you've used, if you've done any 3D, but in Blender, if you just click and drag on that, it's going to give you an X rotation around this little blue one here. You can also hold Control, and that will give you little increment points if you want to be very precise and kind of snap your rotations to that. Or you can hold Shift, and that will do very, very, very slow. So everybody try that. Hold Control. You can even change it. Control, Shift, Control, Shift. None of the above. I'm just rotating around with Control. Now I'm holding Shift, and just get used to kind of making slight adjustments like that. It's very fun, very cool. So that's how we're going to rotate things with the gizmo. If you want to, this is totally just preference. Everyone has their own way of using Blender, and I've kind of reset that rotation kind of strange. So I'm going to just hit Control Z to get her back to how we kind of started. So if you grab on this one, it's going to rotate on the X axis. And you can do the same thing, Control and Shift, to very incrementally change those. And then you can also do this green one, and that will rotate on the Y. So same thing, Control and Shift. And that's the different ways that you can rotate your object here. And if you ever get it out of whack, which probably most of you have by now, hopefully, if you want to ever just reset an object's rotation to the original state, so all you have to hit is Alt and, you guessed it, rotation, which is R. So Alt R, and that will reset or clear the rotation there. So say if you are like me and you don't really use that gizmo, I just leave this tool usually selected most of the time, the select box, and then I just use R to do a lot of, different rotations. Another cool thing that you can do is tap R twice, RR, and that will turn it into kind of that cue ball, kind of the rolling rotation. So R will rotate, and then RR will do a rolling rotation, which is pretty cool. once you know you have all those rotations at your fingertips. So let's go ahead and jump into the next lesson where we're going to talk about scaling your objects and all the different ways that you can do that inside of Blender.